Hi there. My name is Karina, and welcome to this Rocket 3 class. What is Rocket Yoga? Rocket Yoga takes the primary, secondary, and third series of Ashtanga Yoga, mixes it up into an accessible form of yoga that is not just aimed at people who are far advanced in the yoga practice, but allows you to modify the asanas to fit your body, to modify the postures to fit you and wherever you are on your journey through yoga. So during this class, I will be offering some modifications. What you will need are 2 blocks. There are some things that the blocks will help you along with. You may need a belt, however, it's not necessary if you don't have one. If you don't have any blocks, feel free to use books or something that will give you a little bit of height. Find yourself in a comfortable seated position. I'm seated on my meditation pillow. Bring your hands onto your thighs, roll your shoulders up and behind you, and close your eyes. Let's take a couple of breaths here to arrive on the mat, to set our intention for this practice. Allowing your breath to flow naturally in and out of your body. And just becoming aware of anything that you may be feeling, anything you may be holding on to. And try to lengthen your breath with the next 3 in and exhales. Gently, with your next breath, try to make your throat tighter, as though you were trying to fog up a mirror, maybe like after a shower when it's really hot in the bathroom and the mirror fogs up. We want to try to do that with our breath. So with your inhale, try to make your throat a little bit tighter. And with your exhale, do the same, but open your mouth and maybe placing your hand in front of your mouth so you can feel the air coming out. It's an audible breath, so you hear it coming in and you hear it going out. One more with the mouth open. Then try to do the same thing, but with your mouth closed. It's like listening to the sound of the ocean. And gently open your eyes. This audible breath is known as ujjayi, and this breath will be with us throughout the practice. If you do forget, I'll remind you. Maybe I'll forget as well, but that's okay. Try to keep this ujjayi breath with you through the practice. It focuses the flow of pranayama through the body. One of the other elements that we try to keep with us while we're practicing is our bandhas. Now, our bandhas are like energy locks in our body, starting in your pelvic area, the Mula Bandha. If you imagine that you have a lift and elevator sitting at the edge of your pelvic bone, and as you inhale, your elevator tries to flow up towards your belly button, this contraction is your Mula Bandha. So inhale, activating, allowing your elevator to flow up, and exhale, releasing. Our second bandha is here in the middle, our Uddiyana bandha. And this is like pulling your belly button back towards your spine. So activating through your core so that you're tight, almost like a corset hugging you in. And the third is our Jalandhara bandha. It's bringing your chin towards, if you bring your fingertips along your collarbone, you'll see that as they meet, it makes like a U in the middle here. And bring your chin in and down towards this U without it actually physically touching. That's not a requirement. Is activating your Jalandhara bandha to protect your neck and your cervical spine. When we activate all three together, which we will do throughout the practice or in one or two elements of the practice, we're activating our Mahabandha. So Mula, Uddiyana, and Jalandhara all together is activating our Mahabandha. The last element we have, which makes up this Trishtana, is our breath, Ujjayi, our bandhas, and our drishti, which is our gaze of focus. We're either going to be focusing towards our thumbs, towards our fingers, our knees, or our navel, or at any point in the practice, you can bring your gaze to a focal point, which helps you stay in focus in the practice. So these three together make up the Trishtana, and we'll be using them as we go through the practice. So coming into a tabletop position, if you were sitting on anything, you can just switch it out to the side. Tabletop, your knees are under your hips, your hands are under your shoulders. Let's go here for a couple of cat-cow breaths. So inhaling, tipping your pelvis up towards the ceiling and opening your chest. And exhaling, making yourself round. Let's do 4 more like that. Inhale, opening up to cow. Exhaling, rounding cat. Another 3. Last one. And then finding a neutral spine. Feel free to tuck your toes under. We're going to make gentle circles. So just warming up our wrists here. There are going to be a lot of transitions from standing to downward dog and back to the front of the mat where we need our wrists to be safe. So just making sure we're bringing in some synovial fluid into our joints, changing direction. And then coming back to center. So keeping the left fingertips pointing towards the front of the mat, turn your right fingertips outwards and behind you so that your left thumb is now pointing out to the right side. Your wrists are at just about the same height. And we're going to take 2 cat-cows here. So exhaling, making yourself round. Inhaling, opening up. One more here and just becoming aware of whatever you're feeling in your arms. And back to tabletop. Then gently lean forward and lean back. So trying to keep the base of your wrist down onto the mat and it's going as far as is comfortable for you. So you're not trying to move through any pain. Coming forward and leaning backwards. One more. Coming back to center and turning your right fingertips to the front of the mat. Changing sides, your left fingertips are going to turn back. 2 cat-cows here. And try to engage your Ujjayi breath. So at any point you forget what we're trying to achieve here with the breath, just think of Darth Vader. I know it's not really a really good yogi description, but it sticks. So gently shuffling forward and backwards. And come back to center. Turning your left fingertips forward, just taking a quick seat on your heels. If this is uncomfortable for you for any reason, then come into a cross-legged position and just gently circle your wrists. Shake them out. And then come back to all fours. Tuck your toes under. And come into downward facing dog. So lifting your knees, straightening your legs, and shifting your hips up and back for your downward facing dog. Gently shuffle your legs here from side to side, bending one leg, straightening the other. Switching, allowing your hips to sink deep, allowing your shoulder to sink into the position as well. And then finding stillness in your downward facing dog. Inhale here, bring your feet together. Exhale, bending your legs, looking forward. And with your next inhale, walk with your feet forward, coming into a flat back. Bring your hands onto your shin bones if you need to. Exhaling into the forward fold. And inhale, arms up over the side. Bring your palms together. And then arms next to your side for Samasthiti. So starting off with our class, we'll be doing 2 sun salutations, A and 2 of B. So feet are hip width apart. If you're very into your Ashtanga practice, you may want to bring your toes together and have a little bit of distance between your heels. My knees don't feel comfortable that way, so I'm going to stay hip width apart. Inhale, arms up, gazing towards your thumbs. And exhale, folding forward, Uttanasana, gazing towards your knees. Inhale, coming into a flat back, Ashtanga Uttanasana. Exhaling, your hands down, your legs back. Now let's just pause here for the first round. So making sure your hands are under your shoulders and bring your knees down onto the ground so they are not under your hips. Bending your arms so that your elbows are pointing towards the back of the mat and releasing your chest and chin down to this mat. Inhaling, rolling yourself forward, bring your stomach onto the mat. Your arms are tight next to your chest. Roll your shoulders back and lift your upper body. Just turn your head from side to side here, making sure there's no tension in your neck. Going back, toes up onto the mat, and pressing your hands actively into the mat, pushing through child's pose, back into downward facing dog, and we'll be here for 3 breaths. So either staying here in stillness, or if you need to move, then feel free to do so. Another 2 breaths. Last one. Feet together. Bend your legs with the exhale, looking forward. And inhale, step forward to your hands, flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhaling, Uttanasana. Arms up over the side, palms touch, gaze to your thumbs. Exhale, Samasthiti. Inhale, arms up, palms touch, gaze to your thumbs. Exhale, Uttanasana, into a forward fold. Inhale, flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, place your hands, step back, and on the same exhale, knees, chest, and chin come down. Inhale, come into a cobra, shoulders back, opening your chest. Exhale, pushing through child's pose, coming into downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Another 2, and actively pushing your hands into the mat so that you're giving up space for your neck. Last one. On the exhale, bend your legs, look forward. On the inhale, step to the front of the mat. Flat back. Exhale, release. Arms up over the side, come to standing, gaze to your thumbs. Samasthiti. Inhale, Utkatasana, taking a seat, bending your legs, shoulders back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. And placing your hands stepping back, let's pause here. If you choose to stay knees, chest, and chin, feel free to do so. Otherwise, shifting forward onto the tips of your toes so that your shoulders are coming over your wrists, bending your arms and coming down. Without touching the mat, come onto the front of your feet and pushing the mat away from you, opening your chest, coming into a back bend, into upward facing dog. If this is too much, then come down into cobra. On your exhale, turn over your feet and push your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Your right leg's gonna come forward. Bring your left heel down, arms up for warrior 1. Exhale, hands down. Lifting your left leg, right leg behind you, staying knees, chest, and chin, or going through your chaturanga, cobra, or upward facing dog. Through child's pose or direct downward facing dog. Your left leg's gonna step forward, right heel down, arms up. Exhale, hands down. Lifting your heel, stepping your left foot back. Vinyasa. Finding your way to your downward facing dog. We're going to hold here for 3 breaths. This is 1. 2. 3. Step your feet together. Bend your legs, look forward. Step or jump to the front of your mat, flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, bend your legs, Utkatasana, taking a seat. And inhale, Samastitihi. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, you can place your hands and step through to the back, or bending your legs and jumping. But be careful, before you jump, make sure that when you step back, your arms can stay straight because there's no tension there. If you're jumping, bend your arms and come down. So don't land on straight arms. Working your way to your downward dog. Right leg forward, warrior 1. Exhaling and going through your vinyasa. Left leg forward, right heel down, warrior 1. Exhale, going through your vinyasa. We're here for 3 breaths. Another 2. Last 1, feet together. Bend your legs, look forward. Step or jump your way to the front of the mat, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend your legs, let your arms sweep the floor, and come into chair pose, Utkatasana, for 3 breaths. Your arms can stay shoulder width apart if that's comfortable for you, or bring the palms of your hands together and gaze towards your thumbs. 1 more deep breath here. And exhaling, releasing your hands, bring them behind your back, interlacing your fingers, pulling them towards the back of the mat, and allowing your chest to sink deeper without resting them on your thighs. 2 more breaths here. Exhale, forward fold. And this is where we'd get ready for our Bakasana. I'll give you 2 options, either crawling with your feet out to the side of the mat, sinking down between your legs, feeling free to sit down on your blocks if you like to. If you're coming into this option, bring your arms on the inner side of your thighs, hands towards your chest, shoulders back and lifting. If you're coming into your crow pose in Bakasana, your hands down into the mat, try coming onto the tips of your toes and your knees as high up into your armpits as you can, leaning forward, lifting 1 foot, then the other, and maybe both. And either placing your feet down and then stepping back from your Malasana, your hands would come down, feet would step back, or jumping from your crow, going through your Vinyasa. Stepping your right foot forward, left heel down, warrior 1. Shoulders back, both hips are facing forward. Inhale here. And exhale, warrior 2, adjusting your back leg so that your hips are open to the long side of the mat. Your gaze over your right fingertips. And straighten your right leg and pull yourself as far over to the right as possible. Maybe trying to see if you can tuck your right hip under you, bringing your left hip a little bit higher. And when you can't fall over anymore, bring your right hand onto your shin, your left hand up towards the ceiling. Depending on how deep down you are, you can place your hand on the outside of your foot. You can come here onto a block. You can grab a hold of your toe. Keeping your chest open is the most important factor here, gazing up to your thumb. Inhaling, coming up, bending your leg. Bring your hands into your hips, turning your hips to the front of the mat and lifting your back heel. Stepping your foot a little bit further forward and placing your heel down onto the mat, making sure both feet remain hip width apart. So you're on railway tracks here. Inhaling up and exhale, slightly folding forward as though you were going to come into your pyramid, but we're going to turn and twist. So bring your hand on the inner side of your right foot, feeling free to use a block, or on the outer side. If you do bring the block to the outer side, please note that it's going to give you a little bit more challenge with regards to your balance. Your right arm is going to go behind you and up towards the ceiling, and maybe taking your gaze towards your right thumb, or bring your hand towards your lower back, rolling your shoulder back. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, coming up, cartwheel your arms and taking your left foot one step back. So we need to open up our stance. Coming through warrior two with our right leg bent. Bending your right arm onto your leg, lifting your left fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then next to your head so that the fingertips are pointing towards the front side of your mat. Staying here, or bring your hand on the inner side of your right foot or on the outside. One more last breath here. Coming back to center into warrior two. Bring your hands onto your hips, lifting your back heel so that your hips are once again facing the front of the mat. Arms going forward and upwards. Bring your hands to your chest, lower your left knee down, and we're going to turn to the right. You can stay here, or bring your left arm on the outer side of your right leg, pressing your hands actively against each other and trying to open your shoulder a little bit more. Feel free to lift the back knee and maybe opening up your arms. Coming back, hands towards your chest. If your knee was down, stay there. Come back to center, lifting. If your knee was lifted, just lift your upper body and your arms up. Hands down into the mat, right foot back, flowing through your vinyasa. Walking your feet in a bit, working your hands in a bit. Bend your legs down so that your knees come onto the mat, and bring your forearms onto the mat. Lifting your knees, straightening your legs, and coming into dolphin pose. We're just going to stay here for 10 counts. 1, 2, 3, making sure your forearms are pressing into the mat. 5, 6, maybe gazing forward towards your thumbs. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Lowering your knees, lifting your arms, lifting your knees, and adjusting your stance to come into a wider downward dog. Rolling forward so that your shoulders are over your hands, knees, chest, chin, or through your chaturanga. Upward facing dog and downward facing dog. Your left foot is coming forward for warrior one, arms up, and gazing to your thumbs. One more breath. Exhale, opening for warrior two and adjusting your stance. Gazing over your left fingertips, your left knee is bent, your hips are open to the side. Straightening your left leg, pulling yourself as far as possible, trying to see if you can stack your hips, and then folding, allowing your upper body to sink down, either grabbing a hold of your shin, grabbing a hold of your block, inner or outer side, lifting your right arm up towards the ceiling. And imagine you're leaning back against a pane of glass, so not too heavy, but you don't want to be facing down towards the mat. Inhaling, coming back to center, bending your left leg. Bring your hands onto your hips, lifting your left heel facing forward. One step further forward, heel onto the mat. Again, we're on railway tracks. Inhaling, lengthen. Exhaling, folding, and either bring your right hand on the inner side of your left foot or the outer side. Your left arm's going to go behind you and up towards the ceiling. Gaze up to your thumb if that's comfortable for your neck. Or maybe bring your left hand on your lower back, rolling your shoulder back. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, cartwheel the arms open. adjusting your stance. So your right leg going back behind you, bending your left leg, arms out to the side. Left arm bent on your left leg, right arm up, and then next to your head, fingertips pointing towards the front of the mat. Here for your side angle, or your hand on the inner or outer side of your leg. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, coming back to warrior two. Hands on your hips, lifting your back heel. Arms forward and upwards. Hands towards your chest and lower your right knee down. Staying here. Turning towards the left. If this is enough for you, stay here. Or bring the outer side of your right arm to the outer side of your left leg. Pressing your hands in each other and pushing your right shoulder back. Lifting your right knee if you would like to, and maybe opening. Sometimes this twist is a bit much for your stomach, so feel free to come back. There's no pressure. Finding your way back to center, so either bring your knee back down and then coming forward, or just turning forward, lifting your arms up and hands down. Left leg back and flowing through your vinyasa. Before you come into your downward dog, let's fix up our stance here. So bring your hands a little bit closer. Feel free to bring your forearms directly onto the mat and lift your knees, straighten your leg into your dolphin pose. Now you have the option to stay here. We already set it up in the first round, or bring your left foot a little bit closer to center, come onto the tips of your toes and lift your right foot up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring your right foot down, stepping it a bit into center, left leg up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Foot down. Either bring your knees down, then lifting your forearms, or just lifting your forearms and adjusting your stance. Shoulders forward for plank, lowering down for your vinyasa. Walking your hands 1 or 2 steps nearer to your feet. Bringing your weight forward over your shoulders, bending your legs and pushing yourself away from the mat to the back. So we're gonna make a whoosh and land up at the back of the mat. Inhale, come into a flat back. Exhale, release. Grabbing your big toes with your index and middle finger. Your thumb's gonna come onto your toenail. Roll your shoulders back. Flat back. Exhale, forward fold, and allow your elbows to open out to the side. 2 more breaths. Last one. Inhale, flat back. Release your hands and placing the palms of your hand underneath your feet so far back so that your toes are going to massage your wrists. Both hands. Roll your shoulders back, flat back. Exhale deeper into the forward fold. Last breath here. Inhaling flat back, releasing your hands, bringing your hands onto your hips and coming up to standing. We're gonna twinkle toe our way to the front of the mat. So opening your arms out to the side, up towards the ceiling, coming on to the tips of your toes. Bring your weight more onto your left foot, lifting the right and stepping it forward. Weight onto your right, lifting your left and stepping forward. 2 more. And then stop is about 30 centimeters from the top of your mat. Hands down. Stepping your right foot 1 big step back and turning to the side of your mat. Now is a really good time to befriend your blocks if you haven't already. So in a wide-legged stance here, we're coming into our forward folds. Feel free to have your blocks in your hands. Inhaling, open your arms out to the side, and exhaling, going through a flat back into your forward fold. Your hands, with or without your blocks, are going to try to be at the same height as your heels. So if you need to use your blocks, check to see which height you want to turn them on. You don't need them. Place your hands to the back. Your arms, we're going to have chaturanga arms. So pulling them in towards each other to the midline, allowing your upper body to sink down. Inhaling flat back. Exhaling hands onto your hips. And inhaling coming up to standing. Try to curl your feet a little bit further out to the side. So really, really, like maybe 5 millimeters out to the side. Hands behind your back, interlace your fingers and pull them down. Shoulders back, and your shoulder blades are squeezing into each other. Inhaling here. And exhale, forward fold. Either you're going to have your arms, your hands pulling up towards the ceiling, or if you're flexible here, your shoulders, they might sink a little bit further down towards the mat. 2 more breaths here. Release your hands back down to your sacrum, lifting your upper body, and then coming up to standing. Releasing your hands, opening them out to the side, maybe your feet a little bit further out from each other. Inhaling here. Exhaling, folding and grabbing a hold of your toes. If you can't come to your toes, feel free to grab your ankles. Flat back and pull your head down. Your elbows are bent and they're pointing out to the side. Last deep breath here. Release your hands. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands to your hips. Inhale, come up to standing. So grabbing a hold of your blocks if you don't already have them. Turn over to the right. So lifting your left heel and bending your left knee so that your leg comes down onto the mat. So we're coming into a variation of Ardha Hanuman, checking to see that your knee is not under your hip. Roll your shoulders back, open your chest. With an exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale one more time, coming up. And this time, shift your right foot as far away from you as possible and sink deeply into your hips, coming into your version of Hanumanasana. If you can't sink your hips down, that's okay. Bring your blocks next to you. Actively press in so that you have a little bit of this help from your hands. Holding for 1. And releasing, shifting your weight back towards your left heel. Lifting your knee and coming over the middle to the other side. So lifting your right heel. Your right knee is going to come down onto the mat. Straightening your left leg. Inhaling, opening your chest. Exhale, folding forward. One more inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale, lifting, shifting your left heel as far away from you as possible and sinking down into your hips, using your blocks here for support. We're going to hold for 2 breaths. And pressing your hands firmly into your blocks or into your mat, pulling your left heel closer to you, tucking your right toes under, lifting your right knee and turning back to the midline or to center. Releasing your blocks or maybe taking them with you. We're gonna come into a middle split. So this is probably the hardest split of them all. So making sure your hands are gonna go behind you. Feel free to use your blocks if you need to. Your fingertips are pointing towards your buttocks and bending your arms as though you were gonna put your weight onto them, letting your legs open out to the side and then taking a seat. No worries here if it isn't a split, just making sure your legs are actively open out to the side. So your arms out to the side, lengthening up towards the ceiling, shoulder blades pointing down, holding here for 3. Your heels are active. The last one. And then inhale, lengthen a little bit more. And with the exhale, leaning over to the right, bring your right arm over to your left side. One more breath here. Inhale, coming back into center. And exhale, changing sides. You're going to lean over to the left. Right arm is reaching over. Your left arm is relaxed or maybe extended out to your right foot. Inhale, both arms up. And exhale, forward fold. So bring your hands in front of you. And depending on your relationship with your inner thighs, you can feel free to stay here. You can curl yourself a little bit further forward, coming onto your forearms, or flat on the mat. So choose to see what feels best for you, what serves you today. And then slowly coming back up into a straight spine. So one block is going to stay in front of you. The other block is going to come to the outer side of your right leg. We're going to move into our Mula Bandha checkups. And what I spoke about before, so your elevator lifting up towards your belly button. We want to keep that active because we need it to lift our legs from the mat. So both blocks are framing your right foot. We're going to do it in 2 stages. So the first repetition, we're just going to see if we can lift our butt off the mat, our buttocks. And the second rep, we're going to lift the leg and the buttocks. So right and then the left side. So a trick here that may help is bring your hands into your block and try to make yourself small. So leaning over your right leg. You want to keep active in your legs, pressing your hands into the blocks and then lifting your buttocks. And sinking. So staying small. This time when we lift, we're going to lift the right leg and the buttocks. So coming up and down. Lifting through the middle and then changing blocks onto the other side. If you need to massage your thighs or just give yourself a gentle shake here, please feel free to do so. If there's any cramps that you need to massage out before we move or carry on, turning over to the left. So making yourself small, go towards your left leg, hands pressing into your block, just the buttocks this time. So coming up and down. The next time we do that, the left leg is going to come with. So and down. Coming back to center, just pushing your blocks out of the way, just giving yourself a quick shake, a quick shuffle. And then turning to the front of your mat, placing your hands down, bring your left leg towards you, coming through plank and flowing through your vinyasa. Just take 1 or 2 breaths there in downward dog, feeling the quality of the stretch in your legs. Bring your feet together with an inhale. Bend your legs, look forward. Jump or walk to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, arms up over the side, gazing towards your thumbs. Samastitihi with the exhale. So if you don't have a strap or a belt, you don't need one, I will show you a modification. So bringing your left hand onto your left hip, lifting your right leg and grabbing a hold of your knee. This is our first option. So you want to keep a flat, straight back, gazing towards the edge of your nose, or straightening out your front arm in front of you, having your index and your middle finger ready to catch your big toe. Staying here or here, we're going to hold for 2. And gently opening your right leg out to the side and straightening your left arm out to the left. Your gaze, if it's comfortable for your neck, is towards your left thumb. If you're holding on to your toe, your leg is straightened out to the side. Coming back to center. Releasing your leg or your knee and just hanging here for a second. Realize how heavy our body parts actually are. knee towards your chest, and bringing your foot either on top of your left thigh or bringing your foot towards your left hip. Sink your leg down so that your knee is pointing down to the mat. If this is not possible for you because of your knee, because of your hip, stay here in a figure of four. You can also come here into a forward fold, making use of your blocks. That is perfectly accessible. If, however, you want a little bit more but can't reach for the bind, grab a hold of your foot with your left hand, bring your right hand behind you and just grab a hold of your elbow. Inhaling here and exhale, slowly coming forward. Inhaling, coming back up, releasing your foot, lifting your knee, arms up. Bring your right foot down, arms to your side. Inhaling, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Flat back, hands down, jumping or stepping your way through, flowing through a vinyasa. Feet together with the inhale, bending your legs with the inhale, exhale, looking forward, jump, inhale, and exhale. Arms up over the side, gazing towards your thumbs. Samastitihi. Changing sides, checking to see which option you want to go for, either grabbing a hold of your knee or your left arm is going to go out in front of you and catching your foot here or here. You're gazing to the tip of your nose or to your foot. Opening your left leg out to the left, extending your right arm out to the right, or grabbing a hold of your knee. Gazing over to your right thumb if that feels accessible in your neck. Coming back to center, knee or leg to your chest, and then straightening it out, hands to your hips. Bending your leg and either finding again your figure of four with your left foot onto your right thigh, feeling free to go here into your forward fold, or bring your left foot towards your right hip, your knee facing the ground. Your right hand is going to grab a hold of your left foot. Your left hand is going to go behind you and grab the crease of your elbow. Staying here or finding the fold. Slowly releasing, lifting your leg, lifting your arms, and exhaling down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Flat back. Releasing, hands down, stepping or jumping your way through your vinyasa. From this point on, there'll be a few jump throughs and jump backs. I will show you a modified version. We're going to crawl with our feet or step with our feet further closer to our hands. Bring your right foot over your left, bending your legs, looking forward, maybe making a bit of space here with your hands, sinking deep into your hips and swooshing forward, your legs out in front of you. The blocks are going to come in handy if you need them. So coming into Dandasana, our four-limbed staff pose, hands next to you, shoulders back, lifting your chest. We're going to be here for 3 deep breaths. Your feet are active, your legs are active. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, folding forward. We're gonna be in 2 variations of this pose. So for the first one, try to grab a position that feels comfortable for you. For the second variation, we're gonna grab a little bit deeper. So if you can come to your feet, that's perfect. Don't pull anything. You're not being forced to do any variation of the pose here. Roll your shoulders back, look forward, and exhale, folding. Looking towards your feet. Inhale, lengthening. And exhale, trying to grab a deeper variation. So if you were holding onto your thighs, see if maybe you can bring your hands to your feet. If you were holding onto your feet, see if you can grab deeper down towards your heels, maybe placing a block behind your feet, grabbing the block, or grabbing a hold of your wrist. Roll your shoulders back, look forward, and exhale, folding forward, looking towards your feet. Last breath here. Inhale, looking forward, and exhale, come up. Bring your hands behind your back. Your fingertips are facing towards your buttocks, either placing your feet onto the mat for a reversed tabletop, or leaving your legs straightened out, actively pressing your hands and heels into the mat, lifting your hips and pulling your chin towards your chest, Jalandhara Bandha, holding. And release. Bring your hands further forward, bringing your feet closer to you. Your right's gonna cross over the left. Hands are gonna come onto the mat, leaning forward and jumping back, going through your vinyasa. Feet together. Crawl with them a little bit nearer to you. Change the direction. So bring your left foot over your right, bending your legs, looking forward and jumping through. Your left leg is gonna go out in front of you, and bring your right foot either on top of your left thigh, as we did in standing with a figure of four, or bring your foot towards your hip, grabbing a hold of your foot with your left hand. You can bring your right hand behind you and grab into the crease of your elbow, lengthening here and folding forward. If you're in the figure of four, you can bring your hands out in front of you. Both legs are active. Inhale, come up, release, and bring your right foot on the inner side of your left thigh. Arms up over the side, and exhale, leaning over your left leg. If for any reason you feel stuck in your right hip, feel free to bring a block under your hip so that you're supported. Both shoulders are facing forward, folding down and gazing towards your foot. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, come back up. Releasing the block if you were using one, and bring your right foot onto the mat. Checking to see that your legs remain hip width apart. If you put your fist between your heel and your thigh, you should still have space on either side. Inhaling your arms up, and exhale, facing or folding forward. Try to bring your right heel as near as possible to your buttocks. If you can come into the bind, feel free to do so, holding hands. If you have a shorter torso, or your arms are short, or you're just longer, you can push your right arm into your right leg and try to push your right leg into your right arm. So you still have the activation into the hip as you would have if you were in the bind. Bring your arms out to the side if you're not binding. One more deep breath here. And slowly release and come up. Grabbing a hold of your right leg with your left arm. Bring your right arm up and behind you for the twist. Gazing over your right shoulder. Turning back to the front, bring your hands down onto the mat, crossing your legs and jumping back to your vinyasa. Stepping with your feet a little bit further forward, crossing your legs, bending and jumping through. Your right leg is going out, your left leg is folding. Either you're coming into the figure of four, if that's what you chose to do on the other side, or trying for the half lotus, grabbing a hold of your left foot with your right hand. Bring your left hand behind you and grabbing into the crease of the right elbow. Inhaling And exhale. If you're in the figure of 4, your arms would be out to the side. Be careful about your ankle. Your ankle into your quads hurts. So if you want to use a blanket or a towel, feel free to do so. One more deep breath here. And releasing. Bringing your left leg on the inner side of your right thigh for Janu Shirshasana. Arms over the side, up towards the ceiling. And exhale, folding forward, grabbing a hold of your calf, grabbing a hold of your foot, allowing yourself to find a position that feels good for your body. Inhale, looking towards your foot. And exhaling, coming up. Bringing your left foot onto the mat. Again, checking to see that you have enough space between your foot and your thigh. Your heel is coming as far towards your buttocks as you can get it here. So making yourself really small. Either folding forward and coming into the bind if you can. One side will always be better than the other, so don't stress about that. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Push your left arm, your left upper arm into your left leg and your leg into your arm. Arms out to the side, rolling your chest back open and folding forward. Lifting and releasing. Your right arm is going to grab a hold of your left leg. Left arm is going to go up and behind you for the twist. Gazing over your shoulder if that's what feels comfortable for you, or turning to the front of the mat. Releasing to the front of the mat, placing your hands down, crossing your legs, jumping back, going through your vinyasa. Walking with your feet forward, crossing your legs, bending. This time when we jump through, lift up your legs and sit into boat pose. So it's not an easy boat pose, so I would recommend keeping the legs bent here. We're gonna hold for 2 more breaths. And then cross your legs and bring your feet down onto the mat, grabbing a hold of your blocks. These are going to give you extra lift. So next to your side, remember when we were in our Mula Bandha check, make yourself small, hands onto your blocks, pressing and lifting for 1, 2, 3, taking a seat, boat pose. Change the cross of your legs, bring your feet back down. Hands onto your blocks, making yourself small and lifting. Taking a seat, last round, boat pose. Once again, changing the way your legs were crossed. Hands onto your blocks, making yourself small and lift. Taking a seat, blocks out the way, hands out in front of you, jump back, step through into your vinyasa. Feet together with an inhale, bending your legs with the exhale, looking forward and jump to the front of the mat. Staying deep and staying on your toes. Try to bring your buttocks down to your heels. Turning over to the right side and bring your hands to your chest. And then your left arm is going to come onto the outer side of your right leg, holding here. We're going to do some arm balancing variations here. So feel free to turn so that your hands are now at the top of your mat. I'm going to keep facing you so you can see what I'm doing. Your hands are going to come down onto the side and we're going to get ready for side crow. So normally we wouldn't have our weight on the back arm, but because we're not staying for too long, feel free to rest your hip onto your arm, but don't sink the weight down onto the back arm. So hands down onto the mat, coming onto your toes, leaning out to the side, staying here in your side crow. If you want to play around with it, feel free to do so. Maybe straightening out your back leg, kicking out to the side with your bottom leg, coming back, Toes back down onto the mat. If you stayed to the side of your mat, turn your hands to the front, jump back for your vinyasa. Feet together with the inhale. Bend your legs with the exhale. Jump forward. Staying deep, we're gonna turn or change sides. So hands to your chest, turning to the left, bringing your right arm on the outer side of your left side. Holding here. Then having a play with your arm balances, releasing your hands down onto the mat. Feel free to turn so that your hands are at the front of the mat. I've turned so that I'm still facing you the whole time. Bending your arms, leaning over to place your weight onto this shelf that you've created. I'm lifting maybe one foot, maybe both. One side is always better than the other. If you want to play around, play around. Coming back. Turning to the front of the mat if you weren't already facing the front, and stepping back. Let's just take one clearing breath there in downward dog, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Inhale, bring your shoulders over your wrists, and exhale, sinking down. Moving into the back bending part of our rocket. Let your arms go next to your side, fingertips pointing towards your heels, and just for a second, rest on the left side of your head. With the inhale, lifting your upper body, lifting your legs, and allowing your fingers to point towards your feet, your gaze to the front of the mat. Exhale, releasing and turning your head over to the left. On the next inhale, lifting, and we're going to hold there for 3, 2, and 1. Releasing. Hands next to your chest, toes up on the mat, going through your vinyasa. Feet together with the inhale. Bring your shoulders forward, over your wrists, and sinking down. Bending your legs, grabbing a hold of your feet. Be careful here that your legs are not going to open out to the side. So imagine you had a strap that was around your thighs, keeping your legs together. Roll your shoulders back and press your feet into your hands, maybe lifting your legs, holding for 1, 2, and releasing down, turning your head over to the right. Inhaling, lifting, we're going to hold for 2, and 1, sinking down. Turning your head to the left. One more time, lifting to the middle, but this time rolling over onto your right, kicking your heels towards your hips, your shoulder blades towards each other. Coming back to center, opening your chest, and changing sides. Coming back to center, lifting your chest, releasing your legs, hands down next to your side. Bring your toes up on the mat, your hands next to your side. Lift up into a plank. And then go through your vinyasa. Feet together. Bending your legs and jumping through, but staying with bent legs onto the mat. Your knees are going to stay together, but your feet are going to open out to the side. If this is not good for your knees, you can either do a one-legged where we change legs halfway through, or sitting onto a block. So depending on your knees, if it doesn't work for you at all, then please feel free to leave this one out. We're going to come into Supta Virasana, feet out to the side. We have different depths for this pose as well. It also helps if you move your calf muscle out of the way. You can sit a little bit deeper. So hands are going to come behind you, fingertips towards your hips. Roll your shoulders back, opening your chest. This is one point at which you can stay, making sure your chest stays open. If you want to go deeper, Coming onto your forearms. Chest is still open. If you want to go deeper still, release your arms and maybe interlacing over your head. 2 breaths wherever you are. Releasing your arms, coming back onto your forearms. So coming back step for step, just as we did coming down, onto the hands and back up. Hands forward, toes up on the mat, jumping or stepping back and going through your vinyasa. Feet together, inhale. Exhale, bend your legs and come with your knees onto the mat, hands on your hips. Legs stay hip width apart and feel free to leave your toes to the back sides of your foot on the mat or bring your toes up onto the mat. Now grabbing a hold of your side with your thumbs pointing up towards your shoulder blades, hugging your arms towards each other. This may be enough for you with your chest open up towards the ceiling. If you want a little bit deeper here, press your hands into your hips as though you're trying to press your hips into a wall while allowing your back to lean back towards your heels. Your chest stays open, your chin stays towards your chest. This is safer rather than just letting your head hang back. Then come back to center and take a seat onto your heels. Stay here for 1 breath. And then we'll repeat it 1 more time. So coming up onto your knees, checking to see what you want to do with your feet. Hands ready at your side, pulling your arms together. Inhaling, and then choosing a depth. Keeping your hands on your hips if that feels comfortable for you, or grabbing a hold of your heels. If you do shortly just lean back to grab a hold of your heels, make sure you push your hips back out in front of you. So coming into Ustrasana, camel pose. 1 more deep breath here. Bring your hands back towards your lower back, lifting your upper back and taking a seat. Staying here for 1 breath. Hands onto the mat, stepping your legs back and going through your vinyasa. Feet together on the inhale. Bending your legs with the exhale, jumping forward and taking a seat. Feet up on the mat, lowering down onto your back. Also here, we're gonna have some options for you. So your feet are pressed firmly into the mat. Your first option, your hands stay at your side, and all you're gonna do here is lift your hips up towards the ceiling. So your your upper back stays in the mat, lower back is lifted. That's your first variation. We're gonna do it twice. If you're wanting a little bit more, we're going to come into wheel pose. So Urdhva Dhanurasana, your fingertips are going to go behind you, pointing towards your shoulder blades, and make sure that your elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling and not out towards the side. So no chicken wing arms here, both hands, fingertips towards your shoulder blades, stepping with your feet maybe a little bit further forward, pressing your hands and feet firmly into the ground to lift your head and come onto the crown of your head. Then straighten your arms and coming into the full variation of the pose. Inhaling, exhaling your chin toward your chest, lowering your head and your back coming down. Try not to do any immediate counter pose. Just allow your back muscles to neutralize before doing anything. So 1 more time, either staying in bridge pose, just lifting your lower back, just lifting your hips from the mat, or finding once again your Urdhva Dhanurasana. Choosing your variation. And then lowering yourself back down onto the mat. Once again, Don't do any immediate counter pose. Just let your knees rest, maybe crawling with your feet further to the outer side of the mat, just taking a rest here. And bring your knees towards your chest, your hands behind your knees, and gently sway from the front to the back of the mat. Your legs are crossed and ready for the next jump back. So as soon as you have enough swing or enough momentum to come forward, place your hands and jump back. Knees, chest, chin, or through your chaturanga if you're still going with it. Good job, well done. Feet together, inhale. Exhale, bend your legs. Inhale, straighten them out once more. Exhale, bending. One more, straighten out. And this time, lifting your right leg up. Bending your knee and bringing it towards your right wrist. Allowing your right foot to go out to the left side and crawling with your left leg back behind you. Roll your shoulders back, opening your chest, feeling free to stay here. We have a back bend here, which we've moved through a couple of them. If you feel like the back bends are enough and you want more relaxing here or more hip focus, then feel free to come onto your forearms or maybe just take a quick nap. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. So whichever version you decide on. Try to tap in once again with your Ujjayi breath. Another 3. Last one. If you were down onto the mat, coming back up and gently leaning over to your right hip, curling your left foot a little bit further over to the right, lifting your upper body, bending your left leg and grabbing a hold of your foot. If this is not accessible, then grab a hold of your legging. If you need to use a strap or a blanket to hook around your foot, feel free to do so. And the way you grab a hold of your foot is going to determine how it feels in your shoulder. So if you're grabbing from under, we have an open shoulder here. If you're grabbing from the outside, we're closing. So we're internally rotating here and externally rotating with this grip. So just depending on what feels good for your shoulder, what feels good for your rotator cuff, staying there. And then releasing. Once again, leaning over to the right side so you can bring your left foot forward and to the outer side of your right thigh. Grabbing a hold of your left leg with your right arm and crawling your left arm up and back into the twist. Gazing over your shoulder if that feels comfortable for you. Then turning to face the front, we're going to come into cow pose. If this is accessible for you, bring your left foot closer towards your right hip. It can feel a little bit more accessible if you curl your feet further out to the side. We want to check that the knees kind of stack over each other. If you're here though, that's okay. Like just check to see what feels good for you. If you feel like you kind of need to release into your hip, you can bring a block between your thighs and maybe that will help you out a bit. So open your arms out to the side. Your left arm is going to go up, your right arm is going to go down and behind you. You're going to try to hold hands. If that is not possible, then just grab a hold of your t-shirt. So it might look like this, but actively pull your hands apart from each other. You can stay there. Or if you need a little bit of extra, then lean forward. Releasing, letting go of your hands. Your left foot is going to go back. We're going to reverse everything that we just did. Hands onto the mat, your left toes onto the mat, pressing actively into the mat so you can lift your heels, your right foot back, flowing through your vinyasa. Bring your feet together. We're going to do this pulse one more time. So bending your legs and tipping your pelvis up, then straightening them out. Bending your legs, tipping your pelvis, straightening them out. Your left leg is going to come forward, your knee behind your left wrist, foot out towards the right side, crawl with your left foot back, pigeon on the other side. Either staying on your hands if this back bend feels comfortable for you, or coming onto your forearms, or lying down. Five more breaths here. Last one. Coming back up onto your hands from wherever you were, leaning onto your left hip and allowing your right leg to crawl further over to the left side. Then grabbing a hold of your right foot, so bending your leg, grabbing your foot or grabbing a hold of your legging, pulling your foot towards you. Once again, checking what grip is better for your shoulder. If you can, turn forwards to face the front of your mat. If that's uncomfortable for your hip, then you can stay slightly open to the side. Then leaning further into your left side, releasing your right leg, bringing your leg forward and onto the outer side of your left thigh. Then grab a hold of your left thigh with your right thigh, with your left arm, curling your right arm up and back for the twist. Turning forward and finding your cow face pose, Gomukhasana. So maybe just letting your right leg go further back towards your hips. If you want to, you can curl your feet out to the side. Check to see what feels comfortable for you, what feels comfortable for your knees and your hips. Arms out to the side, your right arm up, your left arm down, maybe grabbing a hold. Maybe this is your more dominant side, so it feels easier. Lifting here and maybe coming into a gentle forward fold. Inhaling, come up, releasing and reversing everything we've done. So bring your hands front, your right leg is going to go out to the side and back behind you, pressing your hands into the mat, your left leg behind you and through your vinyasa. Inhaling, feet together, bending your legs, looking forward and jumping through. Check to see you have enough space behind you, that there's nothing obstructing you so that you can swing back if you need to. If you have your hair tied up and your hair elastic is going to distort your position once you're lying down, then I would suggest just taking it out for the next bit. So we have two options again, either coming into a waterfall where you might need a block, it feels really nice under your lower back, or coming into a shoulder stand. So I'll show the waterfall first. So lying down, bringing your feet onto the mat and grabbing a hold of your block. And bring the block under your sacrum, if that feels comfortable for you. Lifting your legs up towards the ceiling. They don't need to be straightened out, so no stress there. Just relax them. If you would like to lift your arms up towards the ceiling, then that could also feel good. If it's not high enough, you can bring two blocks underneath your sacrum. Staying there, you're going to be here for up to 10 breaths, or if you would like to go into your shoulder stand, taking a supine position, lifting your legs up and behind you so you can bring your arms nearer together, shoulder blades together, your hands towards your lower back, and then gently lifting one leg after the other up towards the ceiling. Making sure that once you are in this position, you are no longer looking from side to side. Your gaze is going towards your knees or towards your feet, your chin. As I explained at the beginning of the class, we're activating Jalandhara Bandha. The weight here is in your upper body and your shoulders and not your neck. Holding here another 8 or so breaths. Another 3. 2. Last one. Bending your knees and bringing your knees towards your forehead. Releasing your hands. If you would like to go further here, you can bring your knees to the outside of your head, but you won't hear me, so stay there for 3 breaths. And then bringing your feet back behind you, either staying onto the tips of your toes, more of a stretch in your back body, or coming onto the front side of your feet. Stretching along the front side of your foot, front side of your shins. And slowly sinking your lower body back down onto the mat. Your legs are gonna go up and slowly down towards the mat. Just stay here. Allow your spine to once again find a neutral position. Don't come into any counter pose just yet. Bring your knees towards your chest, your hands behind your knees. 1 or 2 swings forward and backwards. When you have enough momentum, we have a jump back. A vinyasa. And then come down onto all fours. So if you did let go of a ponytail, maybe just quickly do one in. We're going to come into a handstand, but I will show 2 variations where you can choose to stay. So on all fours, bring your hand or your forearms down onto the mat and just grab a hold of your elbows, just checking to see that you have the right distance here. Bring your arms out in front of you, interlacing your fingers, making sure your pinky fingers are tucked in towards you and not out to the side. The back of your head is going to come against your interlaced fingers. So this is version 1, pressing your forearms actively into the mat, toes up onto the mat and lifting your knees. Staying here, or crawling with your feet a little bit further towards you, staying here, or playing around with your options, lifting one foot, switching and lifting the other, lifting both feet towards your hips and staying there, or straightening your legs up towards the ceiling. A lot of options to play around with there. Five more breaths. And slowly Coming down, knees down onto the mat. Just come up into a seated position, hands onto your thighs. Once again, finding a neutral spine before we do any active counter pose. And then maybe finding your child's pose if you need it. So you can bring your arms behind you, folding forward, relaxing your shoulders, maybe placing your head onto a block. Rolling back up to a seated position. Bring your legs up behind you and straighten them out in front of you. Inhaling your arms over the side up toward the ceiling and exhale into a forward fold. Not worrying this time where you're grabbing, just relaxing. Our closing sequence, we generally hold for a little bit longer. Another 4 breaths here. Looking towards your feet. And then rolling back up. Coming into a seated position, so crossing your legs. If you can find your lotus here, then feel free to do so. Your foot is going to come towards your hips. If that's too much for you, if it's too much for your knees, or if you're just able to do it on one side, feel free to do so. Bring your hands behind your back and grabbing a hold of your elbows. Roll your shoulders back, lengthening, and then folding forward. If you're in your lotus, you would be grabbing a hold of your big toes. Two more breaths here. Slowly coming up, releasing your arms and bringing your hands to your knees for chin mudra, your thumbs to your index fingers, with the other 3 fingers actively pointing down towards the mat, shoulders back, lifting your chest, and trying to activate your Mahabandha. So Mula, Uddiyana, and Jalandhara all together, active as the prana flows through your body. Engaging your Ujjayi breath. Your gaze, you can close your eyes and maybe gazing to the tip of your nose. And gently opening your eyes, and one last time grabbing a hold of your blocks. We're going to come into a swinging position. So if you're in your lotus, stay there. You may want to bring your hands through your legs onto the mat. However, if you're not in your lotus, bring your hands to your side. The blocks give you a little bit of extra height. We're going to lift and try to hold for the count of 10. I'm there with you, so we're going to try to do it together. Make yourself small, pressing your hands into your blocks, and then lifting. Maybe just lifting your buttocks or your legs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Release. Blocks out to the side, straightening your legs out in front of you, checking that you have enough space to lie down, and coming into your Shavasana. Taking 3 deep breaths here, in through your nose Sighing it out through your mouth. You need to change anything here for your lower back. Feel free to bring your feet up onto the mat, your knees against each other. Just take a couple of minutes here. Maybe staying with your Ujjayi breath, sound of the ocean. Or maybe just letting your breath flow freely without controlling. And just letting it be. Take a mental scan through your body and see how you're feeling now at the end of this class. Think of the amazing work that your body just did. And taking 5 more breaths here. The last 3, a bit more active. And then, if your legs are still straightened out, bring your feet onto the mat and gently sway your legs from side to side, like a windscreen wiper, swooshing the tension from your hips, from your lower back. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Coming back, resting your knees on each other. Bringing small circles into your hands, maybe into your ankles. Maybe gently swing your head from side to side. Coming back to center. Bring your knees towards your chest and make yourself small head towards your knees. And gently roll up to a seated position. Bring your hands in front of your chest in Anjali Mudra. And gently open your eyes. I would like to thank you very much for joining my class. I hope you had fun. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Have a nice day.